Chapter 4. Max watched closely, but said nothing as she used her key fob to open the doors. You'll get used to it. How can you be so sure? Humans adapt. Technology has changed a lot since I was born in 1990, even more since my grandmother was born in 1945. I was born in 1739. It's a bit more of a jump. Her heart warmed at the sound of his deep rumble of laughter. Olivia opened the passenger door for Max to demonstrate how the handle worked. He nodded his head and followed her to the driver's door. Miss Woods, he bowed as he opened the door and waited until she had settled behind the steering wheel. Max filled the passenger side and then some. She should have brought Graham's SUV. After a lesson in the seatbelts, Olivia pulled out into the street. Smoother than a wagon, was the last thing he said until they arrived at the mall. What is this? It's a collection of stores. We call it a mall. Shops? You'll see. Once she had parked, he met her at the door once more. For all her education, she couldn't understand why the gesture made her feel special and made him appear gallant. We need to get you some clothes. She stood between the door and Max. Your tailor's establishment is quite large. I don't have a tailor. I buy clothes off the rack here. She pointed to a large department store. They should have something more suitable for you to wear in this time. She closed the door. You don't approve of my clothes? He hadn't moved when the door closed. Olivia stood close enough to be in the shadow of his tri-corner. Heat bloomed in her cheeks again. Oh, she could gaze at him in those duds all day and then some. Well, you don't look like an ill-fed orphan, but you will stand out. She sidestepped and he winged his arm. She slowly encircled his arm with her own, hoping he didn't feel the loud drumbeat of her heart. I would have brought you something to wear myself, but I have no idea of your sizes. He nodded. They entered and found themselves in the tools section. Max stopped and stared. She couldn't blame him. Music played, children laughed and called to each other and their parents. Lights glittered, beckoning from each display. A mall store was always a hubbub. At Christmas, it was a zoo. How do you find anything in here? If you don't know, you ask. She slid her hand from his arm into his hand. They'd never be able to walk side by side in the crush of shoppers. He followed her lead. Olivia didn't miss the appreciative looks of several of the women when they caught sight of Max at her back. She stood a little taller. She nearly tripped when Max squeezed her hand. Here we are, she waved towards the men's clothing. Max moved from table to rack, taking it in before he turned and stepped in close. This is a bit awkward, but how do I... Awkward was just the right word. Since they had entered the store, Olivia's thoughts remained in the dressing room. Once you find out what you like, you can try it over there. She pointed to several small doors to the far wall. I understand. We have back rooms for fittings too. Of course. It is decidedly awkward. But how shall I pay? My observation leads me to believe that tobacco is no longer a currency, yet I do not see gold change hands. Oh no, we use money. It's complicated. Today's on me. He hesitated. She placed her hand on his arm. Don't worry, we can settle up later. Perhaps I should keep my own clothes. She applied a saucy grin. Why? Surely a rich merchant such as yourself can afford to pay me back later. He answered with an equally saucy grin. It's to be that then, is it? She placed a pair of jeans in his hands. These appear to be made of the same material as your own breeches. She nodded. They are. They're called jeans. Everybody wears them. All bodies? Look around. He did. A particular well-clad couple passed by them hand in hand. A father with a crying little girl and a mother with her twin passed swiftly in the direction of the door. Do not women in your time like to look like women? Of course we do, but jeans are practical, and if you dress them the right way, they can be feminine. He leaned in. They're revealing. His whisper tickled her ear as he passed by, headed for the fitting rooms. They checked out and made their way out of the store without further discussion. He offered his arm. Where to next? I thought I'd like to take you home so you can change. To Yorktown? Gloucester. We'll go over that bridge? Yes. Graham's, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Maxwell Ballard of Yorktown, Virginia Colony. Max executed his bow. Mr. Ballard, this is my grandmother, Dr. Rita Woods. She smiled at him from behind silver-rimmed spectacles. Like Olivia, her grandmother barely made it to his shoulder. The resemblance abruptly stopped there. Dr. Wood's silver hair stuck out at straight angles from her head. It was artfully and evenly done, or he would have thought she had just risen from her bed. She wore a long indigo banyan closed with the same interesting closure he had found on his new breeches. Nice to meet you. Please come in out of that cold. The hallway was narrow compared to his own house, but it was infused with light. She guided him to a parlor on the right that glowed even brighter with polished wooden floors of hickory and graced with the light-colored stuffed furniture. Please, have a seat. Actually, we stopped by so Max could change. Dr. Rita looked him over a little more closely. I like the embroidery on your waistcoat. Max ran his hand next to the buttons. Thank you, Dr. Woods. London made? Yorktown boasts a fine tailor, as does Williamsburg. Brothers by the name of Sparrow. Her face broke into contrite circles of a bright smile. Follow me. Olivia led him back to the hall to a smaller room. Shiny white porcelain tile gleamed on the walls, a sink and a small round seat filled with water. I do beg your pardon, but is that? Yes, she glanced to a pair of clear doors. I wouldn't normally do this, but you are a special case. She slid one door over the other one. In here is a tub and a shower. Shower. Running water for bathing. Hot and cold running water. There was indeed a large basin. Polished brass knobs fitted into the porcelain near the rim. Would you like to try it? The idea of a hot bath hit him the same way the cold air had the night before. If you think your grandmother would not object. Not at all. As long as I'm not in here with you. She grinned. She looked down as if she had just realized what she had implied. Excuse me. Olivia retrieved a thick towel of pale blue from a closet he had overlooked. She handed him the towel and demonstrated how to turn the water on and make it run. Keeping her back to him, she skirted out again, trying to keep her tiny frame from coming in contact with his own. Hot water pelted his head, running rivulets down his body. He had never felt anything like it. The soap she had given him had no discernible scent. Rather, it smelt clean. It lathered like no soap he had ever used. He had started with his head and worked his way down. Dust and dirt and tension ran out with the streams of water passing by his feet. He didn't know the answer to why he was here instead of at his own house in his own time, but he wasn't going to waste the gift. After dallying until the water had cooled, he turned the shower off and set about understanding his new clothes. Once again, Olivia proved right. The jeans, as she had called them, were the most comfortable breeches he had ever donned. Not only loose like a farmer's garb, they moved when he moved, stretched when he bent to pull on his new boots. Who wouldn't be comfortable dressed in them? Did she like that feeling, the fabric embracing her curves, yet not restricting the movement? Not that he minded seeing Olivia Woods dressed as she was. He didn't like the idea that other men could also appreciate her slender hips and generous curves. His latest shipment contained a bolt of crimson silk. Now, that would make a garment you'd like to see her in. The color would warm her complexion in the same way the rose color she wore today. Have you figured out yet how to release him from the curse? Dr. Rita asked as he rounded the corner into the main parlor. What makes you think I wish to be released? Olivia spun on her chair to look up at him. I thought you'd like to get out of that conservatory for good. He pulled out a chair and sat next to Olivia at the oval table, facing her grandmother across several skeins of colored wool. There's only one problem. I'm not sure which end of time I wind up on once I'm released. I assumed you would go home. Then why send me here? I don't know. Me either. And I'm not sure I want to leave. Dr. Rita pushed the yarn in front of her off to the side. She yanked the cap off a writing instrument and poised her hand over a sheet of paper. Can you tell me exactly the words of the curse? A curse be upon you, Maxwell Ballard. You shall be alone through the ages, until such a time as you lose your cruelty, your arrogance, until you learn empathy for your fellow man. I don't care if it takes 250 years. And you disappeared in 1769? He nodded. On Christmas Eve. Olivia placed her hand on his arm, eyes wide. Which piano keys are missing? A, C, and E. They're integral to every key. You couldn't play anything. Arrogance, cruelty, empathy, Dr. Rita wrote on her paper. What happened that night? I don't wish to talk about it. Hazel eyes, magnified by her spectacles, pierced him. He stood. Shame shrouded his heart every time he saw Adelaide as she was that night. He owed Dr. Rita no explanations. Perhaps I'll take Max out to the museum. Dr. Rita placed her pen quietly down. We can talk later.